Okay. All right, so Lagos, thank you so much for having me for a short period of time. I'm sure that Dr. Anita has done a fantastic job, and Osazua, thank you so very much for inviting and for putting this on. Pastor Chris, thank you so very much for allowing us to be a small part of your wonderful event here. Earlier on, I was able to punch in a little bit and see that wonderful singing and that amazing prayer. So very talented people, just absolutely amazing stuff. We are not going to spend a lot of time talking about all of the great opportunities of ORU. I'm going to keep things very, very basic because I'm pretty sure that Dr. Anita has already told you all in an earlier session about what we have been doing here, and maybe she even told you all a little bit about who we are and what we're doing. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a 5-minute background here. As you may all know, because of the earlier session, I've been in the technology business for, well, I would say nearly 40 years now, about 38 years. Started very early on as a teenager, had a dream to do a couple of things. I wanted to fly planes. That was the coolest thing for me to ever do. And I wanted to tinker around with technology. I grew up in a really good time period. It was the late 70s and the early and mid 80s. So there's a lot of technology, Apple computers, Microsoft, all of these new companies were coming into the world, and they would forever change the way we do things today. Spend about 22 years of my life in military service in the Navy, and did get my dream fulfilled. I did become a pilot, a helicopter pilot, and a jet pilot, which was a lot of fun. And certainly was able to fulfill my dream of becoming an engineer. As an engineer, I've been involved in many, many projects over the years. Our engineering group has created many products, some of them that you probably use on a daily basis. If you use a smartphone, some of the technology that we have developed is inside that smartphone. So we've had a wonderful few decades, and over these decades, we've seen how technology is influencing how you do things every single day, how it connects you. So if we then get into the new millennium, into 2000, one of the things that became really interesting is how the issue of social connectivity, social media came into play. You know, we of course knew all about MySpace early on, and then in 2004, Facebook changed everything. It was really Google and Facebook that changed everything. Google connected everybody to information, and Facebook connected people together. Now, we're not going to stand here and talk about how great of a job did they do. What's important here is in 2019, it is safe to say that if, for example, we're looking at Nigeria, in 2014, there were approximately 11 million phones in Nigeria. 2017, it was almost 19 million phones. Today, there's about 30 million phones and forecasted just in Nigeria to grow to 140 million phones by 2025. The reason why this is, and we have these facts because we work very closely with manufacturers of cell phone equipment. Samsung is the largest cell phone provider in Nigeria currently. And we're just talking about Nigeria for the moment. We have all of the global information as well, but just for Nigeria. So most of the phones in Nigeria are basic phones, so they do voice and text. But smartphone use is set to grow by 65% over the next 5 years in Nigeria. Those are actual adoption facts. All right? So currently, there's approximately 170 million mobile subscriptions in Nigeria alone, but only 10 to 20% of the population, which is the 30 million, uses a smartphone. So what we're seeing is social media has connected people, and smartphones have enabled people to on the go without having computers, desktops to lug around, to have that smartphone on you and have that smartphone connect you to the world. This is very important because that has been an enormous evolution over the last 10 years. Technology has created the ability to connect people. Of course, there's just one problem with that. You may be able to connect people, but that doesn't mean you're changing people's lives. They simply have the ability to find out more information about the rest of the world. They can certainly start to communicate with everybody else, but it doesn't change their own situation. And one of the things that hasn't changed is the fact that most people who are socially connected are still in the same economic situation that they were before. Cool, so now I have a phone, right? But my situation is still the same. One of the problems that social media created, which is one of the reasons why Oru even exists today, when we came up with the idea in 2012 to really radically and completely transform not only how we communicate, not only how we do business, but to do something that nobody had ever done before, which is to look at each individual's time. How much time do you spend doing the things you're already doing every day? And how much time are you spending online? Now, we all know that there's been about a 4,000% increase overall in how much time people spend online, whether you're browsing, whether you're calling, whether you're texting, whether you're video conferencing, all of these things. A huge increase in that. So if your time is spent doing these things, what happens with the data that you generate? Well, what happens with the data is it's being used by companies and they sell it and they make money on it and you get nothing. Whether that's Google, whether that's Facebook, whether that's WhatsApp, or any of these great, amazing technologies, you use it, you spend your time on it, they make all the money, you get nothing. And we realized that wasn't quite fair. We thought there was something wrong with that particular proposition. Yeah? And I'm sure that you will agree with me. And if you don't, I'm in the wrong place. All right. So one of the things we thought about is what kind of technology does our group have? What have we created over the last 30 plus years? And we realized that we've been heavily involved in the financial software industry, in the travel industry, in the communications industry, the hardware technology industry, the software technology industry. And we thought, well, wait a second. What if we create a platform? And that platform provides benefits and services to members that are very similar or the same or better than some of the things that you're used to. All right, in and by itself, maybe no big deal, but what if we now add something to it, a little bit of recipe to the mix that nobody has ever done before? What if we are the first organization in the world that says, if you do those things, we are going to reward you for it. And we are going to reward you for it every single day. Now that would be different, right? To give you an analogy there, if you were to use Google to search for things, wouldn't it be interesting if Google would pay you to do that? Or if you would use Facebook to do the things you're doing and Facebook would pay you every day? Has anybody been paid yesterday by Facebook or by Google or by any of these systems? Of course not. It doesn't work. They don't do it. So we created this whole radical philosophy. If we want to change the world, we have to change people. We have to change the economic situation and environment that people live in, okay? If you're looking at statistics, again, look at Nigeria, 190 million people, 87 million people, 45% in Nigeria live in extreme poverty. On less than 700 naira, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correct, but on less than 700 naira a day. And I know that from our economic data that the President Buhari signed a minimum wage repeal and replacement act, raising the minimum wage from 18,000 naira to 30,000 naira, which is still only $83 a month. If you think about that, it used to be $50 a month, 18,000 naira. Now it is 30,000. Yet Nigeria ranks as the 27th largest economy in the world. Okay? in GDP, the 22nd largest in purchasing power, but 87 million people live in poverty. Nigeria is 6th in the world and 1st in the continent of Africa in farming and agricultural output. Nearly 1/3 of Nigerians work in the farming sector. The United Kingdom, England, is Nigeria's largest trading partner, and the United States of America is the 2nd largest one. And oil in Nigeria contributes to 2/3 of your country's revenue. And yet your minimum wage is 30,000 naira a month, which is not sustainable. So here's a philosophy for you, okay? What makes a person viable? What makes them economically viable? In today's world, right? So in today's world, when you're looking at, for example, purchasing power, countries like the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, England, about 7 more countries are going cashless. No more cash. Cash is out. Plastic is in, smartphone payment platforms are in. If you do not have a debit card or credit card or the ability to make payments on a smartphone payment platform, you are dependent on cash alone. And if you're dependent on cash alone, you are severely restricted in how viable you are as an individual in the local and in the global community. And we thought about that. We thought, okay, so how do you change that? What can you do to change that? Everybody talks. Politicians, they talk a lot about policies that are going to change their community. You're going to change things around. A lot of people have a lot of talking points, but nobody ever does anything. You got rich people, you know, as you all know, 1% of the richest people in the world own 99% of all of the wealth in the world combined. If there was ever a gap in the world, that is it. It's the income and the wealth gap. So you got some rich people and they're giving their money away to charity. Okay, where is it going exactly? Who is doing what with it? We don't know. We don't know where it goes. Nobody is effectively changing and or solving the problem. So what we're doing here is we're doing something completely different. We're saying if we're all connected and if the world progressively is going to be more connected because people will have more smartphones, and if they're continuing to communicate and they want to do business and they want to trade, no matter what your business opportunity is. Maybe you're just a student. Maybe you're a aspiring entrepreneur. Maybe you're in the ministry. Right? Maybe you want to start a business. All of these things require communication, connectivity. Some of them require money. So what if you have a platform where you can do all of these things, but most importantly, gives you the ability to create economic sustainability by means of giving you the tools to do so. So when we originally started, we were a member-based organization. You would pay a small fee, you become a member, you have all the tools, you get rewarded every day. We have this phenomenal, really amazing thing called Oru Score. And Dr. Anita may have talked about that. Oru Score is measuring your participation. It gives you points. The more you do, the more points you make. The less you do, the less points. It's a very fair system. The cool thing is, the more points you have, the more you get rewarded every single day. So it is all based on incentive, right? The more you do, the more you get rewarded. What a great thing. Now, what happens when you look at the audience and the demographic of people who can afford to become a member? Well, we already know that currently over 6 billion people on the planet live on less than $10 a day, and 3 billion live on less than $2.50 a day. What that means is not a lot of people have the funds, have access to become involved, even if they want to. We saw that in many countries, and today we're in over 200 countries where we would talk to groups of people and they said, you know, we really love what you guys are doing, but we can't afford it. And of course, that made all the sense in the world. So we created this system where we provide membership for free. Doesn't cost anything. Called Oru Lite, free membership. Not only do we provide free membership, but as a free member, you're still going to get rewarded. Let me put it in the context of, let's say, the Naira in Nigeria. If you are a member of Oru and you're a free member, you're still getting 4 to 6 Naira every day. Doesn't seem like a lot, but you get that guaranteed every single day. And every single day, as you participate, you get more points, and that score goes up, which means you go from 4 to 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 Naira a day. All the way until you get to a point where I believe it is something like 2,000 Naira would be the monthly membership. And now you are a full-blown premium member of the network. You joined for free. It didn't cost you anything. What just happened? We took an individual that didn't have a payment system, probably couldn't afford it, and it's probably difficult for them to imagine that they ever could over the next 5 to 10 years. Now we've given them a smartphone payment system, global, with no fees, free to use. Because of that, they can now access the global economy. That shift is tremendous economically, socially, and culturally. This is how we really change people's lives, by giving them the tools and not taking everything from them, but giving to them. Everything we do is based on very specific Christian principles. Now, the Bible never said take everything from somebody else, keep it all for yourself. Remember what they said? It is harder, for a rich man to give up his possessions than it is for a camel to crawl through the needle of the eye. And that's absolutely true. People just want more and more, and that doesn't help anybody. So our network is specifically designed to help as many people around the world as possible become economically viable, create purchasing power in their daily lives, give them opportunities to pursue their dreams. Very important. So many of us have dreams. I still have dreams. I still wake up, every other day thinking, what kind of weird technology can I design now? Because remember, we're not only in this business, we're in the communication business, we're in the agricultural business. We've created technologies that provide clean drinking water. We've created agricultural technologies that can provide food in communities that don't have access for food. All part of the Oru engineering network. What we want to do is create a legacy. How are you going to help people in your community? How are you going to help yourself? How are you going to help your family? The only way to do that, and I hate to say this because people like to say, you know what, money is not important. We can do without money. Money is the root of all evil, right? Well, let me tell you something, right? That's a lie. Money is important. And money is not evil. The love of money is most certainly evil. But money in and by itself is a means to an end. It creates the opportunity for you to do the things that you have dreamt about, that you are pursuing, and that you may want to do. It gives you the tools to affect people around you, the environment around you, and to do great things. Do good things with it. It is not evil. It is the only tool that we have on this planet available to us to make things happen. Unless you're Gandhi, really poor people have never, other than being a figurehead, done much. In the ministry, we're seeing a huge change. We're seeing churches around the world who are looking at Oru and they're saying, you know what? Ministry has to thrive. In order for us to touch other people's lives, we can do that through the teachings of Jesus Christ. We can do that through God Almighty, but we need more tools to actually do this, to actually make this change happen. And we have done that. So here we have a network, and this network is free to join. And at your own pace, in accordance with your own plans, with great supporting resources, you can use all of these tools And you alone determine what your destiny and your fate is. You determine how you want to use these tools and become a better person, how you become a better business individual, how you become a more successful personal individual, and how then ultimately are you going to help change the world. That's why our tagline is change the world starting with yours. You cannot possibly begin to think about changing the world if you not first take care of yourself. And so many people are in such desperate need to take care of themselves and their families first before they can do anything else. So I'll make this real simple. Oru, one race united, because you know what? We are. God created us equal. And because of that, we need to treat each other equally. We need to create equal opportunity to help each other. And that is exactly what Oru stands for. So, don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you have a wonderful conference going on. And I wanted to just lift the curtain a little bit on what we are doing and how we are trying to contribute. And trying to make this very, very real versus just talking about it. Every single day, we are rewarding more and more people in more and more countries. We get tens of thousands of messages every day from people saying, you know what, we got a deposit in our account. We can do things today that we weren't able to do yesterday. How successful you're going to be with this is entirely up to you. If you just want to be a member, and use the great tools and many more fantastic tools coming down the road as well. And you never want to tell a soul about it. You never want to share it with anybody. That is fine. That's perfectly fine. If you're anxious about talking to other people, that's also fine. This network was built for you. If you are an entrepreneur, if you have the ability and or the dream to build and share and touch people's lives, use the same platform. Okay, and we'll reward you for it. But no matter what, we're going to reward you because you are participating and you're spending your time. And because you are participating and because you're spending your time should be worth something. Now, I can't see all of you there in the audience, but if I were to say, raise your hand if you believe that your time is valuable. And then Dr. Anita can tell me if anybody's raising their hands right now.
There's a couple, yeah.
Yeah. If you believe your life has meaning, if you believe that your time is significant and should not be abused by other people, raise your hand. And I would even add an amen to that. It is important. All right? So that's what Oru is all about. We're crazy. We're a little out there. Nobody has ever done this before, ever. It is very unlikely that anybody is going to do this because it would cost them a lot of money, and guess what? They don't want to spend the money. They like to keep the money for themselves. Right? How big we will become, how much effect we will have on people's lives, only God knows. We're following his plan in this. It's very simple. None of this belongs to us anyway. We can't take it with us, right? All we're asked to do is do the best we can in the short period of time that we have on this earth. And we know that there is a greater purpose coming after this. And we know that most of you in the audience sincerely believe that. And we believe that. We do not hide it. We do not hide behind the politics of business comes before what you believe. We are very, very strong believers of the principle that drive us. And those principles are highly and exclusively biblical.